Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a career path that you might not expect, um, bridge construction.
Bridge
Mm.
construction, that's a new one.
It is,
Yeah.
and I know what you're thinking, like, hold on, I'm not trying to, like, build a bridge for a living, but stick with us on this one.
I'm intrigued.
We're dissecting this guide, Bridge Construction Supervisor, the complete career guide, to, like, extract these amazing blueprints, and these blueprints can be used for any career, I think.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about transferable skills, using this guide as a metaphor. I like it.
Exactly. And trust me, you'd be surprised how many transferable skills we can squeeze out of this seemingly niche field. It's pretty cool.
I'm ready to be surprised. Sometimes the most unexpected places offer the best insights.
100%. So let's get right into it. What does a bridge construction supervisor actually even do? It's got to be more than just like, holding a blueprint and yelling at people.
Yeah, it's way more than that. It's actually a pretty multifaceted role when you really think about it. They're not just overseeing the building process, they're like master problem solvers, project managers extraordinaire.
So they're like the conductors of an orchestra, making sure every single instrument is in sync.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a conductor needs to be adaptable and ready for anything, the guide paints this really vivid picture of what the work environment is actually, like construction sites, offices, and even get this remote locations.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that about
Yeah.
remote locations. That's interesting.
Right. And we're not just talking about working from home. We're talking about being out in the field, dealing with crazy deadlines, battling the elements. It really highlights the need for flexibility and strong communication skills, regardless of what career path you're on.
Yeah, it seems like those skills are non-negotiable, regardless of your profession. And speaking of things that might make you reconsider a career path, um, the pros and cons section really jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah. What'd you think? Did they sugarcoat anything?
Not really. I mean, on one hand, you have this potential for high earnings, leadership roles, and the chance to work on these massive, really impressive projects. But on the other hand, we're talking about long hours, tons of stress, and this massive responsibility for ensuring everyone's safety and that the project, actually gets done.
It's a balancing act, right? Every career has its perks and its downsides. It's about finding that sweet spot, the place where your skills and your passions align with your personal life and what you value most.
Totally. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget to consider. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a dream job without considering those trade-offs.
Exactly.
And finding that balance, that's the key, isn't it? It's not just about landing a job. It's about finding a career that really fits into your life, like a missing puzzle piece.
Absolutely. And that's what I really appreciated about the guide's breakdown of career stages. They go into great detail, laying out this clear progression from entry level all the way up to the top dog, the principal bridge construction supervisor.
It's like they're handing you a roadmap, showing you not just the destination, but every twist and turn along the way.
Exactly. They're not just telling you the job titles, which, let's be honest, can sometimes sound kind of dull. They're actually outlining the responsibilities that come with each stage. And, more importantly, the skills you need to master to reach the next level.
And here's what really struck me. It's all about those transferable skills. Communication, management, problem solving. Those are like the golden tickets in any profession, wouldn't you say?
100%. And it's refreshing to see a guide that emphasizes that. It debunks this myth that those skills are just for managers. They're essential for anyone who wants to climb that ladder, regardless of their field. I mean, think about it. No matter where you are in your career right now, you can pinpoint your own personal entry point, right?
Oh, I love that. Everyone has an entry point, regardless of their age or experience. So you're saying we can use this guide, even though it's about bridge construction, to kind of map out our own career paths.
Exactly. Once you've identified your starting point, think about the typical progression within your field or maybe an industry you're interested in exploring, and then ask yourself this. What skills do I need to really hone in on to level up and reach that next stage?
Okay, so it's like don't just dream it, plan it. And speaking of planning, we've got to talk about the certifications section.
Ah, yes, the certifications. Always a hot topic, right?
Totally. Now, while the specific certifications mentioned, things like PE and CCM, those are obviously specific to bridge construction. But it got me thinking about the bigger picture, upskilling. In today's world, with technology changing everything so rapidly, it's almost like we have to constantly be learning and evolving, right?
It's not even almost like that. It's a fact. Staying stagnant is, well, it's a recipe for career disaster. Technology is changing the rules of the game faster than ever. To stay ahead, to stay relevant, you have to embrace lifelong learning.
It's like that saying, right? The only constant is change. So how can people even begin to wrap their heads around all that and figure out how to stay ahead of the curve?
Honestly, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. It can start small. Enrolling in an online course, attending a workshop, even just like diving into industry publications and articles and just like staying up to date on what's new, what's trending.
I love that you mentioned those options because it makes it feel accessible to everyone. Upskilling doesn't have to mean quitting your job and going back to school full time. It can be these bite-sized pieces of learning that fit into your life.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of your career and being proactive. It's about building that bridge brick by brick, or maybe we should say skill by skill.
And that brings us to a really interesting section, the alternative title section. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting that in a bridge construction guide.
It's a hidden gem, right?
Totally. So in this section, they basically list out all these related careers: concrete finisher supervisor, rail construction supervisor. It goes on and on. And it really highlights how the skills of a bridge construction supervisor can be transferred to so many different industries.
It's like they're saying, hey, even if bridge construction isn't your thing, your dream job might still be out there, just with a slightly different title. It's all about recognizing those connections, those transferable skills.
Absolutely. And, sometimes I think we get so focused on a very specific dream job
Yeah.
that we might be missing out on other opportunities that would be a perfect fit.
You're preaching to the choir. I think that happens to all of us. We get these blinders on, convinced that there's only one path to happiness. But this guide is like a gentle reminder to, take a step back, broaden your horizons, and really think about what truly matters to you in a career.
About finding the right fit, not just chasing a title. So for anyone listening who might be feeling a little lost, a little unsure about their career path, what advice would you give them? How can they start navigating this sometimes overwhelming world of work and find their own path?
It all comes back to self-reflection. Before you even start looking at job boards or sending out resumes, take some time to really get to know yourself. What are your strengths? What are you passionate about? What kind of work environment allows you to thrive?
It's funny because this whole conversation about finding the right fit, you reminded me of something that isn't really mentioned directly in the guide, and that's the whole idea of mentors and networking. Like, how important are those things when it comes to shaping our career paths?
Oh man, that's huge. It's like the guide focuses so much on the individual's journey, which is important, but it's also crucial to remember that careers aren't built in a vacuum.
Totally. We need support, guidance, people to bounce ideas off of.
Exactly. Mentors can offer that invaluable experience, that wisdom that you just can't get from a book. And then there's networking, which can open doors to opportunities you never even knew existed.
It's like they're like those hidden shortcuts on a map that only the locals know about, right?
Yeah.
Those connections can make all the difference.
100%. And it's not even always about formal mentorship programs or stuffy networking events. Sometimes it's just about being open to connecting with people in your field, even if it's just for a quick coffee chat or, a virtual chat these days.
Yeah, you never know where that conversation might lead. It's all about building relationships and learning from each other's experiences. And that actually makes me think of something else that, while it's touched on in the guide, it really got me curious about the bigger picture. And that's the whole impact of technology on careers, not just in bridge construction, but everywhere.
Oh, yeah. That's the million-dollar question right now, isn't it? It seems like every industry is grappling with, automation, artificial intelligence, the rise of remote work. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is. So for our listeners who are probably feeling that, how do we even begin to future-proof ourselves in this constantly changing environment?
It's tough, but my biggest piece of advice is to embrace a mindset of continuous learning.
Continuous learning. So it's not enough to just learn a skill and then coast on that for the rest of our careers.
Unfortunately not. The world's moving too fast. It's about being curious, staying up to date on emerging trends in your industry, and not being afraid to step outside your comfort zone and pick up new skills, even if they seem a little intimidating at first. View technology not as a threat, but as a tool that can make you even better at what you do.
It's about being adaptable, being open to new ways of working, and constantly evolving those skill sets. So it really all comes back to that idea of building that bridge, but then also making sure it's strong enough to withstand whatever comes its way.
Exactly. And, as we wrap up this deep dive into the surprisingly insightful world of bridge construction, I think the biggest takeaway, the thing that everyone should remember, is that a career, just like building a bridge, it's an ongoing project. It requires planning, effort, and a willingness to adapt along the way.
It's not about reaching a destination and then just stopping. It's about enjoying that journey, embracing those challenges, and celebrating those victories, big and small.
Well said.
So to everyone listening, whether you're just starting out on your career path or you're, a seasoned pro looking for a change, remember that the tools and strategies we've talked about today, they're applicable no matter what industry you're in.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to think outside the box, to draw inspiration from unexpected places, and to never, ever stop learning and growing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Until next time, happy building, everyone.